There is one unmistakable pattern that appears whenever two people are genuinely destined to share a meaningful bond. It does not matter where they come from, how different their lives may be, or how unlikely their meeting seems. Before anything else unfolds, this pattern quietly begins. Many people imagine destiny as something immediately comforting, a love that feels effortless from the first moment, where two strangers meet, exchange a smile, and instantly know they have found the person they have been waiting for. That image is comforting, but it is rarely how true destiny unfolds. Real destiny arrives with far more complexity. Instead of bringing immediate peace, it first disrupts everything you thought you understood. It unsettles your life before it restores it. When two people are genuinely meant to cross paths, life rarely rushes them into a relationship. More often, it introduces distance before closeness. Circumstances separate them, challenge their assumptions, and expose beliefs they never realized were limiting them. Long-held emotional patterns begin to crack, hidden fears surface, and comfortable illusions fall away. This is not the universe being cruel or unfair. It is creating the conditions necessary for lasting growth. Before two destined souls can truly meet as equals, they must first become the people capable of sustaining that connection. Transformation always comes before union. Many people mistake destiny for immediate happiness because they expect true love to remove struggle instead of revealing it. They believe it should feel safe, predictable, and reassuring from the very beginning. Yet the first sign of a profound connection is rarely comfort. It is recognition. You encounter someone, and before your thoughts can explain it, something deeper inside you responds. The experience may not make logical sense. Instead of feeling relaxed, you may feel exposed. Instead of certainty, you may experience confusion. Somehow, this person seems to notice parts of you that even you have tried to ignore. That feeling can be deeply unsettling because most people associate love with emotional security. But destined connections often begin by shining a light on everything that has remained hidden. They reflect your fears, your emotional wounds, your insecurities, and the areas of your life that still need healing. They do not simply acknowledge the version of yourself you present to the world. They recognize the layers beneath it. Being truly seen is powerful, but it can also feel intimidating. This is why these connections often carry intensity long before they bring peace. Awareness comes first. Closeness follows later. For this reason, people who are ultimately meant to share a future often do not remain together when they first meet. Life frequently creates separation during the earliest stages of their connection, and this distance is rarely meaningless. One person may still be carrying unresolved emotional pain. Another may fear vulnerability so deeply that genuine intimacy feels overwhelming. Someone may still be searching for self-worth, while another continues to love through fear rather than wholeness. Sometimes, both individuals still have important lessons left to learn. Even with sincere intentions, two unfinished people can unintentionally hurt one another, so life quietly intervenes. It creates space where people expected closeness. It whispers, "Not yet." It understands that timing matters just as much as connection itself. If two people unite before they have grown into themselves, they may unintentionally destroy something that was meant to become extraordinary. Although separation feels painful, it often protects what has the potential to last. Distance is not evidence that destiny has failed. It is often proof that preparation is still taking place. The pain created by these separations feels different from ordinary heartbreak. It is not simply the sadness of missing someone. It often carries a strange feeling of losing direction, as though something essential has shifted inside you. You are not only grieving another person, you are confronting a part of yourself that their presence awakened. This happens because destined connections are rooted in personal evolution rather than ego. When they leave behind questions that demand honest answers. You begin noticing patterns you previously overlooked. Perhaps you recognize how deeply you fear abandonment. Maybe you realize how often you seek approval instead of offering acceptance to yourself. You may discover that you repeatedly sacrifice your own needs simply to keep others close, or that you avoid taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being. None of these realizations feel comfortable, yet each one becomes a doorway toward healing. The purpose of the pain is not to destroy your spirit, but to awaken your awareness. Even when communication ends and silence stretches on, something continues changing within you. Logic may insist that you move forward, and perhaps there is no contact at all, yet the connection continues shaping your inner world. You become more conscious of who you are. You become more selective about the people you invite into your life. Your boundaries strengthen, your honesty deepens, and situations you once accepted without question begin to feel emotionally exhausting. You stop settling for shallow attention because your heart starts longing for genuine intimacy instead of temporary validation. Often, you do not immediately connect this transformation to the person who entered your life. Yet the process began the moment your paths crossed. Their role was not necessarily to complete you, but to activate something that had been waiting to emerge. They became the catalyst for change. A truly destined connection does not encourage obsession, it inspires reflection. Rather than constantly thinking about them, you begin examining yourself. Your focus shifts toward your choices, your emotional habits, and the person you are becoming. Gradually, deeper questions arise within you. Why do I continue loving in ways that leave me empty? Why does vulnerability feel so frightening? Why have I accepted less than I truly deserve? These are not easy questions, but they slowly reshape your life. Without realizing it, your perspective changes. Relationships begin to look different. Your expectations become healthier. Your sense of self-respect grows stronger. You no longer define love solely by togetherness. You begin understanding that real love also requires becoming emotionally whole within yourself. As time passes, you naturally step away from unhealthy patterns that once felt familiar. You stop chasing people who cannot meet you with the same emotional honesty you offer. You become unwilling to ignore warning signs simply because you fear being alone. Instead, you begin valuing peace over chaos, sincerity over inconsistency, and mutual effort over one-sided attachment. Although this growth was born through painful experiences, it eventually feels effortless because it reflects your authentic self. This is one of the clearest signs that the connection carried genuine purpose. Destined love is rarely dramatic in the way people imagine. It does not always remain in your life forever, nor does it always end in a traditional relationship. Sometimes its purpose is simply to arrive, transform you, and move on. Sometimes, distance itself becomes the greatest gift, because it allows you to become the person capable of receiving a healthier kind of love in the future. Whether that individual eventually returns is not always the most important part of the story. The deeper purpose lies in who you become because they existed in your life. Their presence redirected you toward greater self-awareness, emotional maturity, and a more conscious way of giving and receiving love. When two people are truly meant for one another, their journey is rarely a straight path. It winds through uncertainty, separation, healing, and profound inner transformation. In the end, destiny is not measured by how quickly two people come together. It is measured by how completely they evolve into the people they were always meant to become. True destiny never rushes two people into a relationship. Instead, it shapes them individually before allowing them to stand beside one another. Growth always comes before union, and that sequence repeats itself so consistently that it becomes one of the clearest signs of a truly meaningful connection. You notice this most during the quiet seasons of your life. In moments when you begin understanding yourself more deeply, during evenings when the world grows silent and your own thoughts become impossible to ignore. Without warning, Memories of that person return, not because you are trapped in the past, but because your inner world is changing. Every emotional breakthrough, every new realization about yourself somehow seems connected to the moment your paths first crossed. You are not remembering them out of loneliness, nor because you crave attention or reassurance. Something much deeper is happening. A part of you recognizes that the relationship carried a purpose beyond what was visible at the time. Your soul senses that the experience awakened lessons that are still unfolding. It knows the story was never only about another person. It was also about becoming someone new. This is not unhealthy attachment or emotional weakness. It is the natural process of integration. Your mind and heart are gradually placing every experience where it belongs, extracting its wisdom and allowing it to become part of your growth. A truly destined connection does not simply fade because months or years have passed. Instead, it quietly accompanies your evolution. It appears when you heal, when you discover new strength, and when you leave behind older versions of yourself. That is because its purpose reached far beyond romance. It was always about transformation. Many people wonder why a connection like this seems impossible to replace. They genuinely try. They meet new people, build new relationships, immerse themselves in work, hobbies, conversations, and daily routines. Eventually, life begins to feel normal again. They smile more, they laugh, they continue moving forward. On the surface, everything appears fine, yet somewhere deep inside, there remains a quiet feeling that something is unfinished. This lingering feeling is rarely about comparing one person to another. It exists because the new relationship may not awaken the same level of self-discovery. It may be loving, healthy, and sincere, yet it does not challenge the same hidden places within the soul. Destined connections operate on an entirely different level. They are not sustained by attraction alone, nor by excitement, chemistry, or familiarity. Their real purpose is evolution. They invite honesty, expose hidden fears, and reveal truths that have been waiting beneath the surface for years. Before two destined people can genuinely meet again, life usually continues shaping them apart. Separation is not evidence that something has failed. It functions more like a classroom where each individual learns lessons they could never have understood together. One person begins discovering healthy boundaries. They finally understand that saying no without guilt is an act of self-respect. They stop pouring endless energy into relationships that never return the same care. They realize genuine love does not demand constant sacrifice, and choosing themselves no longer feels selfish, it feels necessary. Meanwhile, the other person begins confronting accountability. They discover that silence carries consequences, that avoiding difficult emotions never makes them disappear, and that intentions alone cannot repair broken trust. They learn that meaningful relationships require emotional responsibility and consistent action. While one develops stronger self-worth, the other develops emotional courage. One refuses to mistake uncertainty for love any longer. They stop waiting endlessly for clarity that never comes and begin valuing consistency over empty promises. The other learns to remain present with uncomfortable emotions instead of escaping them. They slowly replace avoidance with vulnerability. One releases the exhausting habit of chasing people who are not ready to meet them. They finally understand that love cannot be forced into existence. The other realizes that running away never protects the heart from pain. It merely postpones the growth that eventually becomes unavoidable. Although both lives are changing at the same time, neither person can fully see what is happening within the other. This uncertainty serves a purpose. If everything were revealed too early, the lessons would lose their power. Growth often depends upon trusting what cannot yet be seen. Before destiny allows a reunion, many deeply rooted illusions must dissolve. Life gradually removes beliefs that once felt comforting, but quietly prevented authentic love from flourishing. Ideas such as believing love should always feel effortless, that someone who truly cares will never leave, that suffering is proof of devotion, or that another person exists to complete your life. These beliefs create dependence instead of partnership. They encourage fear instead of freedom. They place impossible expectations upon human relationships. Because of this, life gently, but often painfully, strips them away. This process rarely feels gentle while you are living through it. It unfolds through unanswered questions, emotional distance, disappointment, and long periods of reflection. During those moments, you begin recognizing where you abandoned yourself, where fear dictated your decisions, and where your identity became tied to another person's approval. Gradually, a new understanding emerges. You realize that love is not meant to rescue you from yourself. No relationship can permanently fill wounds you have never healed. Lasting connection grows between two whole individuals rather than two people searching for someone else to complete them. Eventually, something profound changes inside you. The need begins to disappear. You stop searching constantly for signs. You stop hoping one message will suddenly fix everything. You stop believing your happiness depends on another person's return. Surprisingly, this shift is not filled with resentment. It arrives with peace. For the first time, you feel complete regardless of the outcome. Ironically, this is often when destiny begins moving once again, not because you fought harder, but because you finally released your attachment to controlling the result. Healthy love is never built upon dependence. It is built upon choice. When both people are capable of standing securely on their own, love transforms from emotional survival into genuine partnership. If their paths cross again, they return carrying greater wisdom, deeper self-awareness, and a far stronger capacity for authentic intimacy. And if they never reunite, the purpose of the connection remains equally valuable. You are no longer the same individual who first entered that relationship. You have become wiser, stronger, calmer, and far more grounded. The lessons have become part of who you are. That is the deeper truth behind destined connections. They are never about ownership or possession. Their purpose is transformation. They awaken sleeping parts of your spirit, strengthen your relationship with yourself, and guide you toward a more conscious understanding of love. When people who truly belong in each other's lives meet again after genuine growth, everything feels different. The energy is no longer dramatic or overwhelming. Instead, there is a quiet steadiness. Before your thoughts even catch up, your body feels safe. The anxiety that once filled every interaction begins to disappear. Fear loses its grip, and the ego no longer feels compelled to prove its worth. What remains is simple honesty. Conversations become effortless because neither person is hiding behind defenses. The calmness exists because both individuals have already faced their own storms alone. The depth exists because each has confronted their own shadows. The clarity exists because the illusions that once clouded the connection have already fallen away. The relationship is not flawless, nor does it pretend to be. Instead, it is conscious. Every conversation carries intention. Silence no longer creates panic. Boundaries are respected rather than resisted. Games disappear because authenticity replaces insecurity. There is no confusion about where either person stands. Only quiet recognition remains, the feeling of rediscovering something familiar, now strengthened by wisdom and emotional maturity. Yet even after all of this, reunion is not guaranteed. This can be one of the most difficult truths to accept, but it does not make the connection any less real. It was never imagined. It was never meaningless. Not every destined relationship is meant to last forever. Some exist only long enough to transform the people involved before continuing on separate paths. Certain connections arrive to break emotional cycles that have existed within families for generations. They expose beliefs inherited long before you had the chance to question them. They reveal where sacrifice was mistaken for love, where attachment disguised itself as security, and where silence was accepted as peace. They uncover emotional burdens that were never truly yours to carry, allowing old pain to be healed instead of repeated. Other destined relationships teach the lesson of self-love. They reflect how you have allowed yourself to be treated and reveal every place where you diminished your own needs simply to keep someone close. Through that reflection, you finally understand that genuine love should never require abandoning your dignity, silencing your voice, or losing your identity. These lessons can be deeply painful, but they are also profoundly freeing. Without them, you might have continued repeating the same patterns, giving endlessly while accepting far less than you deserved. Some destined souls enter your life for one final reason. They awaken emotional depth that had been asleep for years, opening your heart not only to another person, but to the fullest version of yourself. Some people enter your life only long enough to awaken emotions you thought were gone forever. They remind you of your capacity for compassion, vulnerability, and deep love. Even if they eventually leave, they leave you more emotionally open than before. Their absence may hurt, but the growth they awakened remains. Other people completely redirect your path. A single meeting can reshape your values, raise your standards, and influence the choices you make. Their purpose is not always to stay, it is to prepare you for the next stage of your journey. That does not make the connection less meaningful, it makes it sacred. Many people ask why destiny feels painful before it feels peaceful. Why does it seem to take away instead of give? The answer is simple. Destiny is not here to protect your comfort. Comfort often keeps you trapped in familiar patterns, even unhealthy ones. Destiny protects your potential, even when growth requires discomfort. Sometimes life allows your heart to break, rather than letting your soul slowly disappear inside the wrong relationship. It may remove someone from your life before you lose yourself trying to keep them. In the moment, this feels unfair. You replay conversations, question your worth, and search for answers. Yet with time, you begin to see that staying would have kept you trapped in an older version of yourself. What once felt like loss slowly reveals itself as growth. This is one of the greatest truths about destined connections. Before two people can truly come together, they often have to grow apart. Separation removes illusions, not only about each other, but about love and about themselves. Hidden fears rise to the surface, unhealthy patterns become impossible to ignore, and both people are invited to take responsibility for their own healing. This season is not punishment, it is preparation. Life is quietly shaping each person into a healthier, wiser, and more authentic version of themselves. During this process, you learn lessons that cannot be rushed. You discover healthy boundaries, genuine self-respect, and the difference between love and self-sacrifice. You realize that loving deeply should never require abandoning yourself. You also learn that being chosen by someone else means very little if you have not first chosen yourself. True wholeness must come from within. Only after this inner work begins does destiny reveal the next chapter. Sometimes it leads two people back together with greater maturity and emotional awareness. Other times, it gently redirects them toward different paths that better match who they have become. Either way, neither person remains the same. If these words remind you of someone, let them settle peacefully. You do not need to chase what is meant for you. Real destiny never asks you to sacrifice your dignity, your peace, or your identity. What truly belongs in your life will encourage honesty, courage, and growth, not constant confusion or fear. And if that person never returns, do not mistake that for failure. Some people are meant to transform you rather than remain with you. Their purpose is fulfilled the moment they help awaken a stronger version of yourself. Destined connections are not about possession or guarantees. They arrive when your soul is ready, or when life is preparing you to become ready. They expose hidden wounds so they can finally heal. They challenge limiting beliefs and replace them with healthier truths. Though they may leave pain behind, they also leave wisdom, resilience, and lasting clarity. Nothing you experienced was meaningless. Every disappointment, every unanswered question, and every heartbreak carried a lesson. What once felt like rejection may have been redirection. What looked like an ending may have been the beginning of a deeper relationship with yourself. Destiny unfolds in its own time. It asks for patience when you want certainty, and trust when answers are nowhere to be found. Looking back, you may one day realize that every delay and every difficult season quietly guided you exactly where you needed to be. The deepest truth is this: destiny is not measured by who stays forever. It is measured by who you become because your paths crossed. If a connection leads you toward greater self-awareness, stronger self-respect, and a more authentic understanding of love, then it has already fulfilled its purpose. And that transformation will remain with you for the rest of your life.